Well, a very good Tuesday evening to you. This is your prime time news bulletin, come to you live from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo on MTVSports and Shakti TV. I'm Shahin Jurangpati.
And I'm Nicola Dizoiza.
Well, deadly clashes in Egypt have left at least 9 people dead, while scores were injured. The deaths were reported when pro and anti-Morsi supporters clashed.
The Newsfirst International Desk will have more details. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
President says that transforming Sri Lanka into the miracle of Asia is not a mere dream. Corps presents its report to Parliament. Report reveals of 16 loss incurring state commercial institutions. Gale force winds batter Colombo, killing 1 person. Well, it's a boy. Duchess of Cambridge gives birth to the 3rd in line to the British throne.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa emphasizes that transforming the country into the miracle of Asia is not a mere dream. The President expressed this view at an event held to declare open the water purification plant in Pattivila Biyagama this morning.
Was able to win.
The communique released by the President's media unit quoted the President as saying that development projects taking place in all corners of the island have transformed the country into a single workplace. The communique adds that 180 million litres of water from the Pattivila water purification plant will be added to the national drinking water supply. The water purification plant will solve the drinking water problems of over 1 million people in the western province. The water purification centre will supply water to Biyagama, Kiribadgoda, Kadawatha, Kalaniya and several other areas. The head of state also awarded the ISO 9001-2008 standard certificate for the water purification plant in Biyagama, the first to be awarded for water in Sri Lanka.
Colombo and its suburbs experienced strong winds this morning. Disaster situations were reported from many parts of Colombo, while 1 death as a result of the adverse weather was reported from Narayanpeta.
A tree uprooted by strong winds collapsed on several vehicles that were travelling on Kirla Road in Narayanpeta at 10:30 this morning. A motorcyclist died in the incident. I was travelling in the bus. At once the bus driver applied the brakes and brought the bus to a halt. The tree fell onto the road. I got off the bus and pulled the motorcyclist from the wreckage. I took him to the hospital nearby. He told us not to lift him. He was taken away in a car. Strong winds also damaged houses in the Sahaspura and Vanatumula areas in Borella, as well as the Sri Dharmashrama Vihara. Several houses in the Dematagoda area were also damaged by the gale force winds. This tree was decaying for some time. The authorities were informed to cut down this tree. However, it was not done and now the tree had fallen onto the roof. Around 10 to 15 roofing sheets on the 3rd floor of my flat were blown away and fell to the ground below. Furthermore, a number of houses in the Kirla housing project in Kirlapana and a few 3-wheelers parked nearby were also damaged. It lasted only 5 minutes. The roofing sheets were blown away. There were babies in the house at the time. Trees had also collapsed onto several vehicles stationed at the National Hospital in Colombo. Trees in Braybrook Place, Colombo were also uprooted by strong winds accompanied by heavy showers this morning. A tree had fallen onto a bus in Malalasekara today. Inclement weather was experienced this morning due to a convergence in southwesterly winds. The Department of Meteorology forecasts rain during the next 24 hours in the southwestern parts of the island. The Met Department says strong winds can also be expected on the western slopes of the central hills. Incidentally, 3 spill gates of the Mausekala Reservoir were opened owing to heavy rainfall.
Train services on the Colombo-Polgahawela line were halted for about 3 hours this morning as a result of a public demonstration that was held blocking the railway tracks.
Residents of Valpola and Batuwata staged this demonstration this morning, claiming that they are being affected by the construction of the Northern Expressway from Colombo. Residents allege that although the expressway was supposed to run across different areas according to the pre-construction plan, the plan has since been changed. They showed us at the divisional secretariat that the plans had changed and that the expressway would run across the towns of Batuwata and Valpola. We are strictly opposed to this.
The old road plan will not cause much damage and will not divide both villages.
The protesters blocked the railway tracks near the Valpola railway station and also stopped a train that was in operation. This is very troublesome to the people. You can see that I am not the only one affected. We are trying to get to Colombo. We will have to apply for short leave and go home now. It's been 2 hours since we came to this point. The police did not intervene to disperse the protesters, whose demonstration continued for over 3 hours. The railway control room said that a number of services, including the Colombo-Kandy Intercity Express service, had to be halted as a result of this demonstration. Minister of Social Services, Felix Pereira, arrived at the location to attempt to make the protesters disperse. Do not block the railway tracks. That is wrong. Do not just ask questions. Do not demonstrate against something that will not happen. The minister's request for the protesters to move away from the railway tracks fell on deaf ears. In spite of the minister's repeated requests, the protesters did not budge. We will seize this demonstration today. The minister has made a promise, but if the minister breaks his promise, the demonstration will be worse. Train services recommenced after the demonstrators dispersed. The construction of this road has been a continuous issue, with a tense situation arising even prior to this, on the 29th of June at a discussion on the construction of this road that was chaired by Minister Felix Pereira.
Chairman of the Committee on Public Enterprises or COPE, Senior Minister D.E.W. Gunasekara presented the COPE report to Parliament today. Presenting the report to the House of Legislature, the Minister pointed out that the committee would submit reports once in every 3 months starting from September. Now, this year's COPE report has subjected 244 state institutions into its investigation.
129 state institutions were subjected to investigations from 2010 to 2011. This time around, that is 2012 and 2013, the committee investigated 244 state institutions. Our observations and recommendations have been presented in this report. We believe that the executive will draw its attention towards this report.
The Committee on Public Enterprises or COPE has revealed that 16 of 72 commercial public enterprises are loss-making institutions. Speaking at a media briefing convened following the unveiling of the 2012 COPE report, the chairman of COPE, Senior Minister D.E.W. Gunasekara, said that 14 of these 16 institutions have been continuously incurring losses since 2009.
244 public institutions have been inquired into in the 2012 report of the Committee on Public Enterprises or COPE that was unveiled today. Not all of these institutions are institutions where you look at profits and losses. There are only 72 commercial institutions. Usually the media and the people tend to focus on these commercial institutions because profit and loss proposals are relevant to these institutions. Of these 72 commercial institutions, in truth, 16 are loss-making institutions. All 16 of these institutions have been listed in this report. Some have incurred continuous losses over 3 years, that is, in 2009, 2010 and 2011. Senior Minister D.E.W. Gunasekara added that COPE does not have the power to inquire into certain public institutions. Now, when we called upon them, some of them came forward. We have inspected them. There are some who have not come forward as yet. We have made a recommendation to the Speaker to change the standing orders of Parliament and give us that power. Of the 16 loss-making institutions, about 9 make limited profits. There are some private companies where we are of the opinion that the Auditor General should be given the power to inspect them. We have presented this as a recommendation as well. Gunasekara also pointed out that 4 institutions are responsible for 98% of the losses as a whole. The senior minister revealed that these institutions are the Ceylon Electricity Board, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, Sri Lankan Airlines and Mihin Lanka. There are various causes for these losses, not just the one. Sri Lankan Airlines is one major factor. When the institution commenced, they commenced with no capital. You cannot commence such a major institution with no capital. Capital was secured through bank loans. They have not paid back these loans, neither have they paid back the interest on these loans. All countries, including Commonwealth countries, not just developed countries, accepted that the opposition should have chaired this committee. I think that as a government minister, this minister was the ideal person to be appointed from the government. Nevertheless, I think that even he would have to face some pressure while holding this position. Honourable Chairman, it is not that I am speaking against it, but the decisions are made based on one person. Even if someone from the opposition is appointed, it would be pointless if the proper questions are not being asked, if the proper functions are not being carried out, and if proper leadership is not given. This time around, it was evident that even though he is a government minister, he carried out the task even better than if an opposition MP had chaired this committee.